So, hi everyone. Let me just give us a minute just to watch while numbers rise, as we still have people sort of entering the webinar. But we have 4 members of the University of Leeds with us today, here to help on the webinar. So we'll just give it till sort of 30 seconds more because the numbers are still going up, and then we will all introduce ourselves. So if you could bear with us for just a little bit longer. Numbers look like they're starting to settle. So my name's Matt. I am one of the enrollment counsellors for Coursera, and I will be sort of running the webinar today, and I will hand over to Dr. Stuart Barber to introduce himself.
Hi, thanks, Matt. I'm Stuart Barber. I'm in the statistics department at Leeds, where I'm a senior lecturer in statistics, and I'm involved in some of the organising and setting up of this MSc Data Science statistics program.
And next, we will go to Dr. Graham Murphy.
Hello, everyone. I'm Graham Murphy. I'm a senior teaching fellow at the University of Leeds, and I'm the nominated programme lead for MSc Data Science Statistics.
And next, we will go to Dr. Jonathan Ward.
Yeah, hi, I'm Jonathan Ward. I'm a lecturer in applied maths at the University of Leeds. I'm developing the module programming for data science. I've been programming for over 20 years. I've been teaching programming for around 17 years. I've taught programming in labs and also in lectures, and teaching in labs given me a good impression of the kinds of issues that a lot of students have when they're learning to program. I also use programming in my research work, mainly for simulating mathematical models and doing data science. I've done a lot of data science work with industry, and I also organise the School of Maths in Leeds External Advisory Board, which we get feedback from companies, in particular about the sort of programming skills they want to see in our undergraduates. So that's just a bit of background on my experience and how it relates to the course I'm teaching.
Wonderful. And finally, with Dr. Leonid Bogachev.
Hello, everyone. My name is Leonid Bogachev. My job sounds a bit odd. It's reader in probability. It's kind of old-fashioned version of the modern associate professor, I guess. I will be a module leader for one of the modules in this program. In the first carousel, one of the first 3 modules that students will see. And this says statistical models. I can answer any question about my background, about the module, whatever you want to ask me. I'm more than happy to answer. Thank you.
Wonderful. And we will be coming back to you all later. There is a Q&A box within the Zoom functions. So if you do have any questions that arise over the course of the webinar, we will be answering questions at different points throughout. So please do put any questions in. With the questions, could you please make sure that they are sort of specific to the course? Quite often we get questions which are very specific to sort of regions or people, will I qualify for this course? Anything like that we won't be answering today because they're very specific. But if you've got anything about the curriculum or anything that you would like to know, then please do ask it in the Q&A, and we will do as many questions as we can. Thank you, and welcome to our webinar today. So what we will be running through today is we'll be starting with a program overview. We will be discussing the application process, the key dates, and then at the very end, we will have a live Q&A. So, program overview. This course is brand new. It has just been launched, and the January intake starting on the 9th of January will be the very first time we run this course. It consists of 12 new modules, 1 project, and it's 100% online. It's self-paced and flexible, and there are 20 hours of study per week, and it can be completed anywhere between 2 and 4 years. So there's a lot of flexibility within this course, and it's anywhere between 2 and 4 years. It's not either a 2-year course or a 4-year course. That's up to you as a learner and how much time you can dedicate towards the course. So the modules within this course, there are the module carousels. So the way this course is broken down is there is no sort of formal structure to it. All you need to do is complete one module before, one carousel before the next. So you can't move on to the intermediate carousel until you've completed the foundation, and you can't move on to the advanced until you've completed the intermediate modules. And before you start anything, there will be an orientation for the course, which will talk you through sort of programs and support. So the foundation module for this course foundation carousel will cover exploratory data analysis, statistical methods, and programming for data science. Then you'll move on to machine learning, linear modeling, project skills, statistical learning, data science, and the multivariate methods. And then in the advanced modules for the carousel, we'll cover statistical computing, Bayesian statistics, and then there's the final project. There are no formal prerequisites for students, but we will normally complete the foundation carousel before moving on to the intermediate carousels and then onto the advanced carousels, as I said. So, as I said, in this course, there's Carousel 1. So first of all, you will be covering exploratory data analysis. This course will introduce students to the basic techniques which can be used to perform a preliminary investigation for data sets. Exploring data involves visualizing the variables and relationships to help determine outliers, identify trends, and suggest suitable statistical models and inform future data gathering. After that, you'll move on to statistical methods. In that module, we'll provide a general introduction to statistical thinking and data analysis, including probability, rules and distribution, methods of estimation, and hypothesis testing. And then the third module, as I said, will be programming for data science. In this module, you'll be introduced to the fundamental skills of programming in Python. The aim is for students to develop the skills and experiences to independently translate a broad range of data science related problems into functional computer programs and communicate their results. After this, you move on to project skills, where you'll be planning, reviewing methodologies, and presenting outputs with ethical considerations. In machine learning, you'll do machine learning, which is a rapidly developing research area which takes an algorithmic approach to identifying patterns and statistical regularities in data without or with limited human intervention, often with the aim of supporting decision-making. You'll look at multivariate methods, which will look at big data with multiple variables. It is vital to discover patterns and infer variable information from the data. This model introduces basic techniques for multivariable statistics with the aim to discover, describe, and exploit dependencies between variables in complex data sets. In linear modeling, you'll predict variables using the linear regression models, learning about variable selection tests and diagnostics. You'll also explore extensions of linear modeling to deal with the more complex data sets. Statistical learning is the second to last module, where you'll look at stock markets to automated vehicles. Statistical learning is the heart of modern life. You'll learn the fundamental concepts of statistical learning and use several key statistical models widely employed in research and data industries. And then finally, in the intermediate carousel, you'll look at data science. And in data science, you'll look at a wide range of fields of application. This module gives an insight into some general principles of the work of a data scientist and some of the underpinnings of artificial intelligence and statistics in the practice of data science. And finally, you'll move on to the carousel, the advanced carousel, where you look at statistical computing, where you'll be using computers for mathematical and statistical analysis of large data sets and looking at the Monte Carlo methods. Second module will be Bayesian statistics, where you'll be introduced to the Bayesian approach to statistical interference and decision-making, covering both philosophical and computational aspects of the Bayesian approach. And then finally will be the project, where you'll put into practice your new knowledge and skills in areas which may include AI, health informatics, urban analytics, statistical and mathematical methods, and visualization and immersive technologies. And those are the modules which make up the complete master's qualification. So on this course, there are two routes for entry. There's a standard entry route, where you would need a UK first class degree, which is the equivalent of a 3.7 GPA, or you can start the course with a UK second class upper degree, which is the equivalent to an American 3.2 GPA. But in both cases, we are looking for areas with substantial maths. So we aren't looking for degrees that have studied sort of one module within mathematics. We are looking for people who have, as I say, a substantial amount of maths, whether that's sort of linear algebra, higher maths, further maths, sort of econometrics, any field within sort of those areas would be suitable for this course. But if you don't meet those requirements, we also have a non-standard entry route. So if you have a UK second-class degree, we would still be looking for substantial maths, but you could also make it up with some professional experience with a minimum of 3 years work experience, once again, in a role with substantial maths or with statistics. But the one key thing we are looking for is a high level of maths, because this is a data science with statistics course. So we do need to know you have the underpinning to be able to carry on with the workload. For more information on what maths we would be looking at, please do look at the website or book in some time with myself, and I can sort of talk you through further what we would be looking for. As well as this, we would do look for everyone to have an English language proficiency test. You will need to have GCSE English language skills at grade 4 or above. This could be the IELTS, TOEFL. They all have different results, but we do need proof of English. But if you have studied in England or in sort of English, then we can waiver this, but it is looked at on a case-by-case basis along with your application. So the program structure is that this course is anywhere between 2 and 4 years. It's self-paced, online and flexible. So each module is 150 hours per course, which works out to be around 20 hours per week, and will be starting in January. But if you don't want to do the whole course, there are 3 exit points on this course. So if you complete 60 credits, which is 4 modules, you can leave with a PG certificate. After 8 modules or 120 credits, you can leave with a postgrad diploma. Or if you complete all 11 modules and the project, which is 180 credits, that's the full MSc. Each module is 15 credits, as I say, completing 180 credits for the full masters. We do hope that everyone who joins does go right the way through to the master's qualification, but not everyone wants to do that, or not everyone has the choice, because life does change. So at least if you do leave early, there are different certification that you can walk away with. And during this course, as well as the Coursera platform and all the online learning, there will be live lectures and tutor support. And there will be 1-hour live sessions, which will be live or recorded. And if you do want to pre-submit questions because you can't make them, then there is the option to do that. So there's access to live tutor support and live Q&As within those sessions. So the total cost of this course, the program will cost £15,000. And this can be paid module by module. So you don't have to pay for the full cost of the course in advance of starting. And each module will cost £1,250, split over the 4 years. If you study over the 4 years, but if you start over 2 years and study over 2 years, you'll pay over 2 years. It's paid directly to the University of Leeds via the student portal, or if you're being sponsored or paying via a loan, the MSc will be completed in 2 years if it's being paid all in advance of start. So the ideal candidate for this course. So the people we would be looking for would previously have completed an undergraduate degree or a program in a quantitative subject and be able to show substantial elements of maths and statistics. So we would be looking for people who have studied science, technology, engineering, maths, STEM fields. Computer science courses are also looked at, although for things like computer science, it will depend on the elements of maths within that. So if it's quite a quantitative computer science degree, then we would look at that. But if it's quite light on maths, then it may not meet the requirements. And we'd like people to have some prior knowledge of data science and statistics that they can build on by studying for this master's degree. Whether you recently earned your bachelor's degree or earned your undergraduate certificate and have been working within a relevant field since, then this degree will enable you to expand your knowledge of statistics and data science. So next we will discuss the application process. So if you go onto the Coursera platform, then which the web address is at the top, or you can Google MSc Data Science and Statistics with the University of Leeds, and it will take you to both the Leeds website or to the Coursera website. There's an Apply Now button, and please click that, as well as obviously more information on the course. And the Apply Now button will take you through to the application checklist, where you will need a scanned copy of your ID. This is the thing that most people forget. It's not actually asked for on the application process, but if you don't provide it, we will come back and ask, which will slow down the process because there'll be a bit of back and forth. We also look for a supporting statement or a personal statement. scanned copies of your academic transcripts and scanned copies of your academic certificates. If they're not in English, we would like translated copies of them, and they would need to be translated with a notary proving that they are official transcripts. We look for a copy of your resume, and please provide any professional certificates. This is most important, especially if you're going down the performance-based route. So if there's any further learning you've done that would be relevant to the course, that will help us make the decision on the application. And then also the English language proficiency test. The other thing you may need to ask to supply is if you are doing a performance-based entry, then there is also a assignment that will need to be done, which is a 600 to 700 word assignment saying why you'd be a good candidate for the course, but also explaining to us more about what you've previously studied, any programming skills you have, and it helps us understand if you would meet the requirements of the course. So please do apply now. It's free to apply for 2024. So the portal, when you apply, will look like this. So first of all, you'll need to supply some basic information, which would be your name, address, date of birth, then setting up a password. And then after that, that's when you have to fill out most of your details. The whole application process probably takes about 20 minutes to fill out, maybe slightly longer to write the personal statement. But you need to go down each of these areas. Every single one does need to be filled out. There are no exceptions, so please don't leave any of it blank. But we need to find out your personal details, address details, your academic qualifications, English language proficiency, professional qualifications, work experience, affiliations, publications, and prizes, if that applies to you. Then supplying any supporting documents. So this is where you'll upload all of those previously discussed documents, references. So if you have a direct standard entry route, then you do not need to provide references. But if you are for a performance-based one, we will need references from you. Now, we do ask for either way. We do ask for you to provide a reference, but we don't go to the reference directly. So if you do get an email asking for you to provide a reference because you've been put onto the performance-based, even though you applied for the standard, although you've already provided referencing details to us, we still need you to go directly to them. So we don't reach out to the references ourselves. That's something we would request for you to do. And then once you have those references, please do send them across to us. We'll ask you for information on funding, whether you're being self-funded, whether you are being sponsored, or whether you're using any form of student loan, as this course does qualify for the student loan within the UK. And then we look for additional support if there's anything that you require, criminal convictions, and then once again, there'll be a run through the application checklist just to make sure you've supplied everything needed, and then an application declaration stating that everything that you have provided is truthful, and then you can submit the application. So once you've submitted your application, then will be the registration process and the next steps. So the first thing you would need to do is to provide the login details, which we give you, and you'll need to log into the student portal and click the accept button. This will officially accept your offer, and then after that you can register for the modules and make the payments. The applications will close on the 3rd of December, and once you've completed your registration, then you will be sent the orientation materials and the program policies, which you complete before the course starts on the 8th of January. And then once you've completed the course, so obviously then there'll be 2 to 3 years, 4 years of study, which we will hope you will enjoy, and then finally you will graduate once you've completed 180 credits. So on receiving this degree, although I'm from Coursera, we're the online learning platform that you will be studying with, but the degree is offered or delivered and awarded by the University of Leeds. So Coursera aren't mentioned on the certificate or the transcripts, and when you're awarded, there will be a graduation ceremony held in Leeds at Leeds University. But if you cannot attend this, you will receive a physical copy by email, and there will be an online graduation ceremony that you will also be able to attend. Now we'll go through some key dates. So the applications are currently open, and they will be open until December the 5th. This will be a hard deadline, so please do make sure that those applications are in. there is a higher chance that applications do come in a flurry towards December. So if you do want to start the course, I would recommend getting applications in as soon as possible, as normally application deadlines mean that offers go out slower. So just to make sure you get everything done nice and early before Christmas and know you have your place, make sure you get that in nice and early before December the 5th. And then the acceptance and payment deadline is December the 15th. Then the classes will start on the 8th of January. So that's all of my information on the course. I say there'll be a Q&A, so please do put some questions into the Q&A box. But now I'd like to introduce back Jonathan and Leonid to give you some more information on the modules. So welcome back.
Hi, yeah. So thanks very much for that. I will be, I'm developing the Python, the Programming for Data Science module. And as has been said, that's mainly about programming, developing programming in Python. It's assumed that you've got no prior experience programming before, but if you have, I think there'll still be things later on in the module that you'll benefit from learning about, particularly in the connections to data science. The sort of the topics that we cover are, we go over the fundamentals of programming, including things like data types, operators, control flows, and functions. We look at some slightly more advanced concepts like object-oriented programming, working with files and data transformations. And we also look at the core packages that people use in Python for data science, which are things like NumPy, which is numerical methods in Python, matplotlib, which is for graphing and plotting, pandas, which is a kind of database and data manipulation package, and also something called scikit-learn, which provides a variety of machine learning and statistical methods in Python. The content of the course is a mix of videos, readings, labs, and quizzes. The labs and a lot of the programming that you'll be doing will be in something called Jupyter Notebook. And this style of programming allows you to combine documentation alongside the programs that you write. And it's often used by data scientists for sort of exploratory data analysis. There are lots of exercises throughout the course so that you'll get hands-on experience of programming, and these are matched up with the assessment, so there aren't any surprises when you come to doing the graded assessments. The assessment consists of graded labs, so you'll be completing programming assignments in Jupyter Notebooks, and you'll be getting automated feedback through those. And you'll also do a project at the end where you develop your own programs looking at a data science related topic, and that you'll get feedback on. There'll be lots of chances for or lots of prompts for discussion with your peers. And as been said, there'll be a weekly webinar with some where we can do live Q&As. I think that's everything I wanted to say, and yeah, thanks.
Thank you. That was very informative. And if we can hand over to Dr. Leonid.
Thank you. So I will be leading the module, one of the three in the first carousel, called Statistical Methods. It's a very intense course over 6 weeks of teaching plus 2 weeks assessment. The aim of this module is to introduce basic of statistics aimed at students who did not take any statistical modules during their undergraduate degree. But if by lucky chance you have had some statistics, that then even for those students, it will be a very useful kind of revision in a systematic and condensed way, including probably and hopefully a lot of new material. So the objective is to give a general introduction to statistical thinking and data analysis, including probability rules and distributions, method of estimation, and hypothesis testing. And last but not least, the basics of Bayesian inference. The Bayesian statistics approach will be revisited at the end in the third carousel, but the basics of Bayesian kind of thinking about statistical inference will be given very early on. So it's very exciting. The material is divided into 6 blocks or units, 1 unit per week, and well, each week is kind of well defined. It will be focusing on part of this syllabus with well stated and clear objectives. For example, the first unit, titled Introduction, Role of Statistical Models in Data Analysis, will cover topics like the notion that data is not information, so information should be extracted from data using statistics. And in this sense, data is just evidence for statistical inference. And because of variability and uncertainty of statistical data, it should be based on solid foundation of probability, which provides kind of quantitative approach to uncertainty. And you will learn in just 1 week, this is unit 2, you will learn basics of probability and probability distributions, which would be sufficient and will enlighten all the statistical methods that will be developed and explained later on. I should probably also say that the first unit is replicated in the open content on Coursera, which is free of charge, and it's almost the same content as the module, but it's running over 3 weeks, kind of a pedestrian approach, kind of slow motion, enjoying yourself over 3 weeks. And the only element which will not be included will be live webinars, which is a very interesting part of the module when it's part of the program. I think, yes, in terms of teaching methods, there'll be a variety of modes like videos, reading, which include lecture notes, quizzes, and a lot of exercises. The assessment will be broken into 2 parts. The first part of assessment comes after the first 3 weeks as multiple choice questions. And the rest of assessment, the most heavy part of the assessment will come after the module is finished, after 6 weeks. And this will be an assignment, including some questions where you are supposed to demonstrate your understanding and your skills. I should probably add a few words about the division between theory and practice. Theory will be used only as a tool to explain the concepts and techniques. The purpose of this model is not theory as such, so don't worry if you don't feel confident in mathematical manipulations. This will be kept to the absolute minimum and only when it helps understanding. So the focus will be on understanding and appreciation and developing statistical vision and intuition. And through all those exercises and joint work, you will achieve this, I hope. I think that's it. I should stop here. But if you have any questions, then I'm really happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you. That was very informative. We have some Q&A at the end, so hopefully we'll get some questions in there. But next, we will hand over to Dr. Stuart Barber and Dr. Graham Murphy. So we have some pre-submitted questions that we're going to run through first, and then, as I said, any questions that are left in the Q&A we'll go through. So let's go for question 1, which I will give to Graham. So Graham, what is the final project? What is the final project? Is there a practical element to it, and how many words is it?
Yeah, that's a good question to start us off. I think the way that we've chosen to structure projects on this program is a little bit different to some other programs out there. We have 2 project modules, and the project modules are the same size, if you like, as they count the same amount towards the degree. as any of the other modules on the program. That means that the focus of your project at the end is not writing a large dissertation report that's many thousands of words that takes a number of months of intensive effort to do it. Instead, our view on the project in this program is that it will be a shorter application of what you've learned across the program up to that date on an application that interests you. It will be based on you'll be assessed on a number of different kinds of outputs. You might have to write some programming, you might have to develop a little piece of software, you might be assessed on a presentation element or a short written element or a combination of all of those things. So your project output should feel more like a small portfolio of work on a particular application of interest, rather than the traditional very long dissertation report. So we hope that students are going to enjoy that different approach.
Wonderful, thank you. And the next question I'll aim at Stuart, which is, what programming languages will be taught, and do students need to know any prior knowledge?
Okay, thanks. So we've already heard a bit about from John that Python will feature, and that will be introduced in the Programming with Data Science module. And that will teach Python, as it were, from the beginning without any prior knowledge. But we'll also be using the statistical language R quite a lot. And that, rather than having a module dedicated solely to R, we'll be introducing that across the other two modules in the introductory carousel. Of course, programming is programming. A lot of the lessons learned in the Programming with Data Science module in Python will transfer over to working with R. But both languages are used very widely in data science. Both have their strengths and weaknesses, and we think it's quite important that people get the experience of both. Later on in the program, particularly when it comes to the project, you'll have, as it were, a relatively free choice, and whether to use Python or whether to use R for a particular task is something that you can choose according to which you're more comfortable with and which you think fits the task at hand better.
Thank you. And Graham, so what student support will be offered, and how much access do learners have to tutors and lecturers?
Yeah, I think there are two aspects to student support. If we think about within a module, first of all, of course, you'll have learning materials that are designed for independent working. We know that you'll be learning online from wherever your location is on the world. So the materials are designed with that in mind. But supporting that, we'll have ways for you to interact with the module leader offline, forums and discussion boards. And also there will be regular live sessions hosted by the module leader on that week's content, so that you will have a chance to come along and ask questions and get some direct input. So there's two strands to the input within a particular course. But then thinking outside the course, the individual modules, of course, you'll be a student of the University of Leeds. And there's a number of support mechanisms that are in place at a higher level, at a more general level there, to make sure that you're getting through the course, that you're progressing okay, that you can manage your studies as well. You'll be able to reach out to a different type of academic staff to help you with those kind of things. So we hope that students will feel well supported. We like to think that we're putting forward a good package of support, and that no one will feel that they're drifting around on their own.
And how are the modules graded, and what formats do the assessments take? And I will send that one back to Stuart.
Okay, thanks. So there's can be a little bit of variation from one module to the next, depending on the academic needs of the subject that's being studied. But usually the approach that we're taking is to have a mid-module assessment in around about the third week, which will be a relatively short piece of work on the topics that you've covered up to that point, and then a more substantive piece of work to do in week 7, looking back over the entire module and looking at what's been covered throughout that. There'll also be every week some tasks to complete to get feedback on. The week 3 and the week 7 ones are the ones that will then formally count to the grade for that module. And what format the assessments take, as I say, will vary depending on the needs of the subject. Obviously, in the programming for data science, it was very much focused around doing the programming. In the statistical methods, there'll be some mathematical exercises as you explore the underlying mathematical ideas and theories. The common theme throughout all of the modules is that there will be elements then of applying the methods that you're learning to data, using the methods to as Lena was saying earlier, to turn that data into information that people can use to make decisions, make predictions, and to really demonstrate the skills that the program is all about.
Thank you. And Graham, so from your experience, what are some of the positives for students outside of the UK choosing an MSc from Leeds?
Yes, I always find this question a little bit difficult to answer because it involves saying how great we are at the University of Leeds, which always feels slightly disingenuous coming from someone at the institution. But I think there are things that we would want to point out. You know, we're a Russell Group research-led university. That's going to inform your teaching. Recently, the university has received one of its highest rankings in the Guardian survey. The School of Maths, which is offering the degree in partnership with LIDA, did very well in the recent research excellence framework. So there are a number of things that we could point to indicating that, you know, Leeds is an institution of quality, and you'd be getting an MSc degree from an institution of that caliber, which should then be helpful to you when you take that qualification and you're trying to use it in the world to take the next steps in your career or to secure a new type of employment. But more than that, the university has a very wide range of expertise in data science across a number of different applications. And we like to think that that's something within the discipline that we can bring to this degree, perhaps through the projects that are run by, we're partnering with our Institute for Data Analytics. And they bring together knowledge from a whole variety of areas and research across the university that have a data analytics element. And they're bringing that into this degree. So I think all of those are some of the reasons why we think Leeds is a good choice.
I would have to agree. And Stuart, can you explain more about how coursework and project work can be presented to potential employers?
Yeah, sure, thanks. So obviously the work is yours. You can use that as you see fit, and through the program you'll be building up a portfolio of things that you've done. As I was saying a few minutes ago, some of the work might be mathematical exercises or sort of self-contained exercises in programming, but other things will be carrying out a substantive data analysis and writing a report to interpret those findings, or indeed more substantial programming work that is a substantive piece in its own right. And you will have these, you will build up a portfolio, not just in the final project, but across all of the modules that you take to get there. And all of that then are items that you can use to evidence, not just to us, but to potential employers, the things that you've learned on the program.
And just to jump in there again, that's another reason why we've chosen this particular format of project, because it can be quite challenging if you've been working on long dissertation type project, it can be quite challenging to hand that to an employer. They probably wouldn't have time to read it, and then you have to really boil that down succinctly, which can be tricky. Whereas naturally, we think our projects in this program will be easy to communicate exactly what it is that you've done because of the reasons that Stuart just outlined.
And Graham, what do you think is the best feature of this program?
Well, I think there's a hint in the title. The title is Data Science Statistics. I think the key feature, or one of the key features of the program, is that it combines a kind of foundational coverage in data science topics, programming and EDA and statistical methods and statistical learning, machine learning. But at the same time, it gives you that solid foundation in statistics as well to understand what's going on when you're applying an algorithm, to really understand the model that you might be using in a particular application. I think it's the combination. It's the practicality, but we're not just teaching you to be able to run a particular command in R. Therefore, you understand how to do things at that level. We're trying to teach you to understand the models as well.
I think that's a great question. So I'm going to throw that over to Stuart as well and say, what do you think is the best feature of this program?
Oh, wow. I mean, in some ways, I think I'm repeating some of what Graham said, but I think really, to me, it's a blend. It's because we're approaching this as a blend of how to use and how it works. And you can learn either of those things on their own, but what we're aiming to do is to really give people, if you like, the complete package. If you just know how these things work, then it's hard to be creative with your solutions. If you only know the how it works, then it's hard to actually put it into real world application and practice. So is this blend of how and why, if you like.
Perfect, thank you. And how do data science and statistics marry together on the degree? And why is having a statistical component important? And I will go back to Stuart for that one, I guess, as Graham started the last one.
Okay. I mean, really, I think this is a continuation of the last question. It's this blending together of the how and the why. If you like, statistics is the older subject. It's the underlying principle, the underlying theory, but the data science is the pragmatic, putting this into practice, using it in a modern data-rich environment. And it's sitting on this boundary between the two that really gives us the chance to hopefully make some impact based on sound footings.
Perfect. And Graham, if you had to call out the top 3 most important skills for someone graduating with this degree and what they'll gain, what would that be, or would they be?
I suppose the way that I think about it is I tend to think more in terms of the types of roles that someone would be suited to before and after the degree. So if you were already working, for example, and your role was mostly data organization and manipulation and presenting the same kind of summaries regularly for other uses, the purpose of this program would be able to enable you to take a step further, where you're not just manipulating and organizing data, but you're starting to use it to draw inferences and glean information and draw conclusions along the lines that Leonid was alluding to earlier. So you should be picking up those skills in critical analysis, also in how to communicate that analysis, whether that's in a short written form or in a presentation or through a piece of coding that you've developed, and being able to translate those skills into a decision-making environment where people in practice are going to want to decide things based on the inferences that you're drawing. You need to be able to contextualize the decisions that have been made and explain how they've been arrived at, and in a way that people can be then comfortable that they understand how and why they're acting in the real world. I think that's what we're aspiring to give to the students.
Thank you. And I'll go back to Stuart for this one. So what careers would you expect graduates to go into on the completion of this course?
Okay, so the obvious ones, anything that's advertised as data scientist, data analyst, titles like that. But a lot of other jobs use those skills, even if they're not necessarily there as the sort of first 2-3 words in the job title. So, I mean, I would say basically anywhere where data needs analyzing, then that's what this program is going to equip you for. And in the world that we're living in, this is increasingly kind of almost every employer, everybody has data that needs analyzing. It can be companies analyzing their own data, science, research, technology, finance and financial services, pharmaceuticals, medical testing, retail organizations wanting to target their marketing. So pretty much any large company is going to have roles in this space. Globally, a lot of people with these skills are employed in government or quasi-government organizations. I know the UK offices, like Office for National Statistics, Meteorological Office, medical regulators. Every other country has its own equivalents. I just don't know the names of the organizations as well. But also, I think what we're increasingly seeing is companies that I would call data consultancies. So they effectively contract out you as a data scientist to work with a client organization to analyze their data if that organization doesn't have their own data scientists. So it sometimes takes a little bit of unpicking. As I say, they don't always put the phrase data scientist in the job title, but anywhere where you need to be able to take in data, understand what it's trying to tell you, and form some conclusions. And these days that's a very, very wide spectrum of jobs to aim for.
Perfect. So that's all of the sort of pre-submitted questions we have. So I know one of the questions that came up in the chat box was, how do I book in some time with an enrollment counsellor? So the dinosaur QR code on the right will book in some time. So if anyone would like to speak with myself afterwards to answer any questions about sort of the application process or anything, then please do take a photo of the QR code, and that will link you through to my diary. But we have a few other questions as well, so I'll read some of these out, and hopefully we can get some answers. So just answered. So are there any prerequisites programs we should take to brush up on mathematics and fundamental statistics, especially if you haven't done your bachelor's for a while?
Maybe I'll have a stab at that. I think there's an awful lot of courses that you could take on Coursera or elsewhere to brush up on mathematical skills. I think the key thing is knowing which skills are going to be the most useful ones to concentrate on. And I think the key things are going to be to brush up on linear algebra, on calculus, and on fundamental probability basics. I think those are the really core ideas that will be equipping you to get going on those first few modules, even if it has been a while since you've formally studied any of those.
Wonderful. And Bethany, are you allowed access to campus facilities, example, the library, even though it's an online course?
Yes, absolutely. You are a University of Leeds student. You just happen to be studying online, but we realise that there may very well be online students studying in Leeds. Probably that would not be the majority of students, but if you're able to come to the campus, then the facilities are there for you to use. And any online campus facilities, of course, are available to all the students. You don't need to be on campus, of course, for this, but yes, you'd be very welcome to.
And the one thing I would say about the library is you do have access to Leeds Academic Library as well, which has been digitalized. So most of the books and things that you will need for this course will be provided either within the Coursera platform or from the access to the library online. So although if you aren't able to get access to the campus, you still have access to a large proportion of the library and all the books that you will need for doing sort of your project. Sorry, just reading through the questions, seeing anything that's sort of relevant to the whole group. Someone said, will the book An Introduction to Statistical Learning be a useful preparation for this program? I don't know if you know the book An Introduction to Statistical Learning, but
it's not one I've met. The title sounds very relevant.
Yes, I suspect it would be relevant to parts of the program, but on the other hand, there's unlikely to be a single book that we could recommend to say if you look at the first 6 chapters of this book, then you'll be very well prepared. No reading is usually wasted effort, but I would expect that it prepares you well for perhaps some parts, but perhaps not everything. But then we are designing these modules so that if you are admitted to the program, that means that we think you'll be well equipped to cope with the pace of learning and the type of learning that we're asking you to do. So I wouldn't want to overemphasize the fact that we require you to do lots and lots of preparation work. If you're offered a place on the program, then you should be in a good place already, and any additional reading might help you in bits and pieces here and there.
We've had a couple of questions that I think have been sort of answered by text, but about sort of professional certificates, which I'll take this one. So someone's asked, I've taken some professional certificates. Can these be considered when applying? So in the case of the application when you have sort of professional certificates, they add some nice sort of background to the course, but the 2 things we would either be looking for is the bachelor's degree. So you would be very unlikely to get onto the course on professional certificates alone. The entry requirement is a bachelor's degree, but if you are entering via the performance-based pathway, once again, some professional certificates from whatever professional body you've taken them from will add a bit of background on some stuff that you might know, but it would be your work experience, that sort of 3+ years of work experience, and sort of something that's quantifiable that you can show that would be giving us the knowledge that you would be able to keep up with the workload. So having done sort of a few sort of online certificates or anything like that wouldn't be significant enough to sort of complete the application. So the primary thing would always be the bachelor's degree, but then with the performance-based, we are looking for something that's provable that you would be able to keep up with the workload. Is there anything else that you'd want to add to that?
I might just add that as a bit of advice to those who are kind of making that performance-based application, to give us as much detail as you can about what data analysis or statistical modeling that you are doing in the work that you're doing. The more into that you can get within the word limit of the application, of course, that really helps us consider your application properly. So if you can give us information on that, and sometimes, you know, the certificates and things you're doing, I think that does show a willingness to learn. But it would, as Matthew said, it would only be considered as part of your application, and the most important part would be evidencing the data science or statistical skills that you have through your employment.
I think I covered most of this, but is there any specific order to taking the course? I mean, there's the 3 carousels, but within that, I believe that the order is...
The program is notionally ordered so that if a student started at one of our intakes and they completed a module whenever there was one to complete and they didn't fail any modules, then they would find that they progressed through in an order without having to make any choices. And we have structured some elements of the course with that in mind. You don't have to pass every module before you progress to the next one, but they are structured in those carousels. So I think the answer is a little bit of yes and a little bit of no. We have considered how students will naturally experience things, but we know that students might have to take a break because life circumstances changes, your work commitments might go up, your family commitments might go up and down. So that's why you have the flexibility in time, and there is some flexibility in the ordering as well. It's just not 100% flexibility. I think thinking about the 3 sets of modules is probably a good way to do it. You should complete the first 3 and then aim to complete the next group of 6 before you complete the final 3 modules. That's probably a more useful way to think about it.
Thank you. And this ties in, I think this will be our last question of the day. So if you do have any follow-up questions, then once again, please do click the QR code and book in some time and we can do some one-on-one questions. But are the modules going to be available to start on a specific time, or is it flexible? And do we have to complete them in a specific order? We just covered the order, but for the specific time and flexibility.
I think if I understand the question correctly, it's really asking, can I start any module anytime that I want to? The answer to that is no. And partly that's because they're not 100% independent learning. They are supported learning. And so that means that as a university, we have to run them in a particular slot in the calendar in the year when there'll be staff available to be your module leaders to help you along with that online and offline interaction. So I think that's why you can't just do it whenever you want on your own. It is tied to a specific calendar of when we're offering the courses. But there's a reason for that, and the reason for that is that we're going to support you through it.
And maybe just to sort of tail on to that each of the Carousel 1 and Carousel 3 modules will run twice a year. And the intermediate, the development Carousel 2, that's the larger one with more modules, each of those will run once a year. So obviously, we can go into more details of that with individuals when we need to, but that gives you an idea of the number of things going on.
Thank you. And I think we're wrapping up now because we're running out of time. So I would just like to say thank you.